Hey everyone, welcome to the first of the positions top fives that we're going to be doing. We're going to run through keepers, defenders, midfielders, and forwards going up the field. So we're starting with keepers today. If you like these kind of videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe, but we'll get going right away with number 5 being Jan Sommer. So after last year Sommer was priced very generously at 5.0, and while I don't normally take one of the more premium style keepers on the big teams, I had to go with him from the start, and it was a great decision. I believe he got clean sheets like the first 3 to 5 matches somewhere in there, and he continued to be a good option throughout the year. But so I can't leave him out of the conversation, so I'm putting him that last of the top 5 spot. But being priced at 7.0, that I think is a little too steep for me to consider him, especially as he would take up one of the 2 Inter spots. And the fact that you're running a pretty big risk if you don't have Lautaro Martinez as part of your teams, that's going to be one Inter spot for most people's, and then you only got one more to pick, whether that be a midfielder like Çalhanoğlu or Barella, or a defender like DeMarco or Bastoni. If you have Jan Sommer, you don't have the option for one of those players. So that's why I am probably leaning away from having Sommer as part of my team, especially to start the season. But yeah, just because he is on the team that's probably people's most favorite to win this year. So I feel like you can't leave him out of the conversation. Number 4, I would say, is Di Gregorio. It looks like Shenzi's on his way out of Juve after kind of taking over from Buffon and being there several seasons now. I think he's done a great job with Juventus. But it does seem like we have a new keeper in town in Di Gregorio from Monza. He's been playing great for Monza the last couple of years, a big reason why they have stayed in the top flight. I mean, they've put a lot of money into the team as well, but he has been, I think, a main contributor to the positivity that Monza have shown. For Juve, we do know that the defense is normally their focal point. Sometimes they struggle getting forward and scoring goals, but they don't give up a whole lot of goals per game. And so while Juve does have a lot of disappointing, like 0-0 losses, sometimes scrape by with a 1-0 win, for fantasy points, you're fine with that if you have their defenders. So Di Gregorio could be a good option. 6.0 euros though, that is still kind of a high price, especially because we don't know what he's going to do. I mean, Shenzi's still technically on the team, so I've only figured out recently that he was moving. I don't know how long that's been out for, but you might also just want to wait and see how that situation goes as well, see if he can prove himself to be another elite goalkeeper amongst the Juventus side. The next one, and this is kind of what I've shown in my first draft video recently, is taking the Como goalkeeper. Now, right now, it shows on the site from I'm taping this on Tuesday. It shows Pepe Reina 4.4, and it has one other Como goalkeeper, and that's it. But it is rumored that Pau Lopez, I think there's strong rumors that he's going to be coming from Marseille to Como, and then he will be put onto the fantasy site. So we don't know what price that's going to be, but it is likely that he would be the starter over Pepe Reina at that point. It just matters what price it is. If he's listed at 5.0, then you're probably better going somewhere else. If he's 4.4 as well, or 4.6 even, I think he'd be in the consideration. And maybe you even take Pepe Reina and Pau Lopez to ensure you always have the Como goalkeeper, because this is not your normal promoted side. There's a lot of money put into this Como team. They have a lot of name players. It's almost I'd say even stronger than the money that was put into Salernitana's, and obviously they went down still. But Salernitana ended up getting quite a few like well-named players, Candreva, Ribery, stuff like that over the time. Whereas right now Como's got Rafael Varane, who recently was playing for Manchester United. They've got Bellotti, who's really been passed around the Serie A teams over the last couple of years, but still has something to offer. Cutrone, who was on AC Milan and then went to Wolves. So they do have a lot more names than a normal team coming up um, from Serie B would have, and I can definitely see them staying up this year and maybe even pushing for a mid-table finish. But yeah, if you have one of them and another cheap keeper, you could go for a 3.8 and just have the Como keeper be considered your starting keeper, or take both and just ensure you always have the Como start in case the two of them are splitting time to start off. Juan Musso. Now, little between him, he definitely has some competition with Carnesecchi from Atalanta, but Musso did play the final for um, the Europa League final that was against Bayer Leverkusen, where they dealt Bayer Leverkusen their only loss of the entire year in any competition. And Musso was the starting keeper for that. But a lot of games around then, surrounding that match, Carnesecchi started. So it's important to figure out who their nailed on starter is going to be. Carnesecchi is listed at 5.4, I think, euros. So I think the fantasy site itself is kind of hinting that Carnesecchi is the starter, but I think maybe not right off the start. But if Musso shows that he's going to be the go-to guy for Atalanta at 4.8 to have a big name keeper, or sorry, a keeper playing for a big name squad at 4.8, and then you can either have a cheap backup starter from a lower team or just a 3.8. You could have a lot of money going forward and a good keeper. The only issue is going to be if there is rotation or if he's just not the starting goalkeeper at all. But if he is the starting goalkeeper, I would almost 100% consider him to be my keeper for this season. But I'm hoping I'm not wasting the number 2 spot on a keeper that's not even going to be starting. But the fact that he started that extremely important game for Atalanta last year, especially after they lost the final of the Coppa Italia to Juventus, which I believe Carnesecchi started that game. Then they went with Musso for the Europa. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully Musso is a starter, and then I could very well see him making my squad. And lastly, we have Milinkovic-Savic at 5.6, a little more expensive than he was last year for sure, but Torino was phenomenal defensively, especially in the second half of the season. People that were doing the best all had Milinkovic-Savic, it seemed like, where he was getting like almost maximum goalkeeper points and he wasn't taking up an inter spot. A lot of people got good points out of Sommer, but then that takes up an inter spot. Or Magnan, then you take up a Milan spot. Well, if you can just use the Torino spot and have, I think Milinkovic-Savic was getting like between 10 and 15 points every week for the most part. That could be positive. Now, we do know that the back line of Torino has gone over some changes. While it was amazing last year, they have lost Buongiorno, who was a standout player in that defense. So will Torino still be the defensive juggernaut that they were last year? Not sure, but I don't think they'll be absolutely terrible. And I could definitely see them with Milinkovic-Savic kind of leading that back line to still do very well. So you're avoiding the premium club spots. You're not paying the 6 mil premium for it. You just kind of gotta judge, is Torino still going to be very defensively strong? Because if not, 5.6 is a high price to pay for a keeper that's not going to be scoring you very many points. But definitely considering Milinkovic-Savic as my keeper as well, if I'm not going with the Como idea. Lastly, here a list of 3.8 goalkeepers that you could have if you just want the one keeper and to spend as little in the backup keeping position as possible. Here's just a list of all of the 3.8 keepers that don't play on big teams, because you don't want to have a backup keeper that's not going to play representing Inter or AC Milan or Juventus, Roma, Napoli, Atalanta, any of those. So, and while some people would argue Bologna is a big club now, I'm still not sure that I can think of 2 people that I want from there. I think I just have one in my first draft in Ferguson right now, but these are, let me move our guy here so we can see what Samuja looks like. But these are the goalkeepers that if you just want the one playing keeper and you're going to stick by him week in, week out, these are some keepers that might be worth picking up to allow you to use the most possible money going forward into your attack. Okay, but that's kind of all I've got for you right now. Please, if you like this, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. That would really help. And we're trying to get as many subscribers as possible before the season starts, because that's when the most tend to come. So I'd appreciate that. Hope you're having a good preseason so far, and hopefully we'll see the Defenders soon. Take care.